Hey guys, it's Rishi, and welcome back to another episode of Invest Scene. It's been a while since I last posted, and I was just getting back to the flow of school and stuff. Anyways, in the past couple of videos, I've discussed combining technical and fundamental analysis to create our winning strategy. In this video specifically, I want to talk about choosing the winning stock in the correct environment. Some investors just use past prices, current prices, and a clutter of lagging indicators to make their investment decisions. However, I don't think that this is very efficient, and I feel that the missing part of the equation is fundamental analysis. Fundamental analysis is the process of analyzing the financial data of a company to determine the real or intrinsic value of the company's asset. Investors analyze the strength of stocks by choosing companies that show strong revenue growth, earnings growth, profit margins, quality management, and many more factors. To actually find these reliable approaches, we first want to take a look at the bigger picture before we dive deep into the financials of a company. The order in which we conduct our analysis, which is a top-down approach that we'll be taking, is very simple. And so this would be first analyzing the overall strength and state of the economy, which is what we'll be discussing specifically in this video. Following this, we would want to take a look at the sectors within the economy. And then after that, when we find a strong sector, we would want to look into individual stocks. Analyzing the overall strength of the economy is what actually allows us to find the right timing to invest in certain companies. There are many different indicators and signals that we can use to find the current state of the economy, such as GDP, inflation, unemployment, and interest rates. So, what exactly is GDP? GDP stands for Gross Domestic Product, and this represents the final value of all goods and services that are produced in a given economy during a certain period of time, which is typically 1 year. What GDP measures is the total size of a given economy. We can use GDP as a measure of comparison. For example, if we take the GDP of the United States in 1975, we can compare it to the current day GDP in America and see how the economic production has grown over these past couple of decades. In addition, we can also compare the GDPs of different countries. Like, for example, we can compare the GDP of the United States with the GDP of India and see how the economic production varies between these two countries. There are two different types of GDPs, and these are nominal and real GDP. Nominal GDP is calculated using current day prices, so it's not adjusted for inflation. Real GDP, on the other hand, is opposite. It is adjusted for inflation because it uses the prices of a base year when it's being compared to the GDP of a previous year, which is why economists prefer real GDP because it is a more accurate statistic for showing the economic production of a certain area. And increasing real GDP tells us that there is a strong economy. However, if the GDP is increasing at a slower rate, we should be cautious about the investments that we make. Speaking of the inflation rate, this is also one of the factors that help to show the condition of the current economy. The inflation rate is the percent change in prices per year in a basket of goods and services, like the Consumer Price Index and the Producer's Price Index. First off, inflation represents the overall increase in prices in a given economy. The Consumer Price Index, or CPI, measures the average change in prices paid by a typical urban American family, which primarily includes energy costs, food, shelter, and healthcare. This percentage is efficient in showing the change in the cost of living in America. The Producer Price Index, or PPI, measures changes in the prices of goods and services bought by producers, like production inputs and raw materials. Oftentimes, PPI is considered to be a leading indicator for tracking inflation. An increasing inflation rate is often harmful to the economy, as consumers now have a lower purchasing power and can purchase less of the same good that they were able to in prior years. If you are liking this video so far and want to help to grow my channel, I would appreciate if you could hit the subscribe button and press the bell icon to receive notifications when I post. The next factor that I want to discuss is unemployment. Unemployment refers to people who are left without a job but have been actively looking for a job in the past 4 weeks. To actually understand what the unemployment rate is, let's define the labor force. The labor force is the sum of the employed and unemployed population. The U3 is the official unemployment rate that represents the total number of people within the labor force that are unemployed. The result of this high unemployment is a reduced efficiency in the economy. High unemployment means that there are less people that are currently employed, and that means that the economy is not utilizing its resources to the fullest to maximize the production. As a result, real GDP will decrease. GDP and unemployment run inversely, which means that as real GDP decreases, unemployment tends to increase. The final signals that I want to discuss are interest rates. We did discuss this topic in a previous episode, but it's also important that I expand on this and relate it back to the topic of determining the strength of the overall economy. Interest rates essentially tell us the cost for borrowers to borrow money from lenders. The reason why central banks like the Federal Reserve increase the interest rates is to slow down economic activity to decrease the inflation. They lower the interest rates when there is an economic downturn and the growth of the economy needs to be stimulated. That concludes part 1 of the episode. In part 2, we'll discuss analyzing the sectors and individual companies to find their intrinsic value. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you in the next episodes.